The 2020 Cape York touring season is fast approaching, and very soon tens of thousands of campers, four-wheel drivers, caravanners and fishos are going to make their way north to Australia's best adventure playground. If you're planning your own Cape York adventure or you just can't get enough Cape York, then this video is for you. I've been lucky enough to do the Cape almost a dozen times now, both with locals who've shown me the hidden hotspots that most tourists drive straight past, and also wandering around on my own, finding my own little bits of paradise. I'm going to let you in on 4 absolutely unmissable campsites that I reckon you've definitely got to add to your bucket list. So grab a pen and paper and a coldie and kick back, because this is essential info for all Cape York fans. So first on the list is Bramwell Junction Roadhouse at the start of the legendary Telly track. What makes this campground so good is that it's situated right at the very start of the legendary Telly track. It's Cape York's most famous four-wheel drive track, and it's a rite of passage for all Cape York adventurers. Now, if you don't get a photo at the famous sign, did you even really go to the Cape? Bramwell is the place you'll find that famous sign that every four-wheel driver has to get a selfie at, and it's also the perfect place to make new mates too, especially if you're traveling on your own. If all your mates have pulled out and you're heading up to the Cape by yourself, then don't sweat it. Just make sure to rock in and camp at Bramwell Roadhouse the night before you start the Telly, and wander around camp with a coldie to say good day to your neighbours camp there too. Chances are you'll find someone who's hitting the Telly track the very next day. Bramwell Junction Roadhouse is a two-wheel drive accessible campground with large, shady and flat campsites, hot showers, fuel and basic supplies. It's open 7 AM to 7 PM every day of the tourist season. Camping fees are $25 per vehicle per night, and no pre-booking is required. And take it from me, the Bramwell Roadhouse burgers cannot be missed either. Campsite number 2 is a red hot tip from the locals on how to camp on the Telly track and avoid the crowds. Most four-wheel drivers take 2 days to do the old Telly track, camping roughly halfway along the track somewhere. About halfway along, you come across the legendary Gunshot Creek crossing, and not long after that, you actually pop back up briefly onto the main Peninsula Development Road before turning right onto the northern section of the Telly track. Let's say you leave Bramwell Roadhouse in the morning. Assuming you don't run into any dramas on the Telly track, then about mid to late arvo, you'll come across the stunning Fruitbat, Elliot and Twin Falls, which are all amazing freshwater swimming holes. There's actually a Queensland Parks campground at Elliot Falls, but it requires pre-booking and it's very often booked out. So a much better solution is to camp just a K up the track at Canal Creek. This stunning freshwater creek has plenty of open bush camping on either bank, although the northern bank does get muddy after it rains. Forget about the crowds at Elliot Falls Campground. Come camp in the bush up here at Canal Creek for free and soak away the afternoon in the crystal clear water as the sun goes down. Note that there are no facilities here at Canal Creek, but there are long drop dunnies back at the Falls Campground if needed. Canal Creek, right in the midst of the Telly track and an absolutely cracking campground. Add that one to your bucket list. Now, if you're not sure about roughing it the whole way up Cape York, I've got some news for you, because some of the best luxury camping you can ever possibly do is right at the tip of Australia. Situated right near the very tip of Australia, Punsand Bay is a bush caravan park with style. There's accommodation here, basic but comfortable motel style rooms if you feel like treating yourself, as well as powered and unpowered campsites. You're right on the beach, and it's about a half-hour drive up to the very tip of Australia, which alone makes Punsand incredibly special. But what I really love about the place is that they've got beer on tap. They've got a wood-fired pizza oven that runs every night of tourist season. And because there's crocs out on the beach and you can't swim in the water, they've just put in a swimming pool too. How good is that? This is true remote luxury camping at its best, but because of that remoteness, be prepared to pay for the privilege. Camping fees are based on how many people are in your group, but can run up above $70 a night for an unpowered site. But before you balk at that and think no way, just remember to keep it in perspective. Cape York's a once in a lifetime kind of place, and you're probably only staying at Punsand a couple of nights. And for that reason, we reckon the place is well worth treating yourself to. Look, if I didn't hook you in with beer on tap and wood-fired pizzas, then the view's definitely got to do it. Punsand Bay is absolutely unmissable. And the fourth campsite on my list is Pormpuraaw, one of the most incredible places in Cape York and well worth the adventure to get there. This one is for the real adventurers, but it's the kind of place that will massively reward those who take the time to get off the tourist trail. Pormpuraaw on the west coast of the Cape York Peninsula is a hidden gem that most Cape York adventurers would never even visit. Pormpuraaw Township is a small community with 2 different campgrounds accessible within a couple of kilometres of town. What makes it so special being on the west coast is the mind-blowing sunsets, watching the sun drop over the water, looking out over the Gulf of Carpentaria. Pormpuraaw also has some of the best fishing anywhere up in the Cape, especially if you bring your own boat and can get out onto the water. Pre-booking for either of the campsites is absolutely essential and is only available from 1st of February through to the first weekend of October. Booking inquiries must be done at least a fortnight in advance, and often well more in advance than that during peak season, and paid for prior to camping. We'll put a link in the comments. Camping fees are $55 per vehicle per night, with showers and toilets available at both campgrounds. If you're a keen fisho, then add Pormpuraaw to your bucket list. Now, of course, that barely scratches the surface of all the incredible camping opportunities there are up in Cape York. But those are 4 incredible campsites that I reckon will make any Cape York adventure absolutely unforgettable. What do you reckon? Got one you reckon I've missed off the list? Drop it in the comments below and let me know. And of course, remember to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification to stay in touch with us for more camping and forward rowing tips and tricks.